Nobody saw this coming, not the fans, not the cast, not even Rashida herself. After months of cryptic messages, social media silence, and rumors swirling like a tornado through Atlanta, Kirk Frost just dropped a bombshell that has left the entire love and hip-hop universe in utter chaos. In a jaw-dropping, no-holds-barred Instagram Live that racked up over 1 million views in under an hour, Kirk sat down, looked straight into the camera, and said the words that nobody expected to hear: "I'm still married to Rashida. We never divorced." Fans gasped. The comments section exploded. And in that moment, everything we thought we knew about Kirk and Rashida's rocky roller coaster of a relationship shattered into pieces. Was the breakup all just a storyline? Did Rashida know all along? Or is this Kirk's desperate attempt to win back the woman he's hurt so many times before? What makes this even more wild? Just weeks ago, Rashida was spotted ringless and dining with an alleged new boo at a high-end Buckhead restaurant, fueling speculations that she'd moved on for good. But now, with Kirk's shocking announcement, fans are left wondering, was it all a lie? Or is this the next level of toxic love we weren't ready for? Buckle up, because this drama is just getting started. It all began on what was supposed to be a calm Saturday afternoon in Atlanta. The streets were buzzing like usual, fans scrolling through their socials, influencers posting brunch pics, and everyone enjoying their weekend vibes. But all that peace shattered when Kirk Frost pressed go live on Instagram. Within seconds, the notification hit timelines. Kirk Frost is live. People didn't think much of it at first. He'd been quiet lately. No drama, no updates, barely any sightings. But then he appeared on screen. Alone, no Rashida. No background noise. Just him, wearing that familiar frown that fans had come to associate with trouble. The chat filled up with "Where's Rashida?" and "Not another cheating scandal." And then, with a deep breath and a pause long enough to make hearts race, Kirk looked into the camera and said, "Y'all keep talking about how me and Rashida been done, but we're still married. We never signed no papers." It was like the internet collectively dropped its jaw. Fans scrambled to record the live before it disappeared, while others bombarded Rashida's page for answers. And just like that, the drama was back and louder than ever. People had questions. Had they been faking it for the cameras? Was Rashida in on this, or was she as blindsided as everyone else? Within 10 minutes, blogs were reposting snippets, Twitter was trending with #StillMarried, and fan pages were speculating if this was a publicity stunt or a desperate plea for relevance. But as the world spun in speculation, what nobody realized was that Kirk's bombshell was only the beginning of what would become the most emotionally twisted chapter of their on-and-off saga. Back at Prest, Rashida's boutique, the energy was ice cold. Staff members who had just finished steaming racks of fall inventory were now glued to their phones, watching their boss's life unravel in real time. One employee whispered, "She didn't even wear her ring last week. I thought she was done." Another replied, "Girl, I thought he moved out. What does he mean they still married?" Rashida, meanwhile, was in the back office, staring at her screen in disbelief. Her phone rang nonstop. Mama Shirlene, Candy, even producers from Love and Hip Hop Atlanta wanted answers. But Rashida said nothing. Just silence. Her expression wasn't anger or sadness, it was something far more chilling. It was betrayal, all over again. Because what Kirk didn't say during that live was the truth behind those papers. According to Rashida's close friend Jasmine, yes, that Jasmine, the one who knows how messy Kirk can get, they had gone through a legal separation process months ago. In fact, Rashida had signed her half and left Kirk with just one task: mailed the documents. She trusted him to close that chapter clean. But instead of mailing the papers, Kirk stashed them away in his studio drawer like some twisted safety net he didn't want to let go. Jasmine revealed in a now-deleted tweet. He kept saying, "We gone, work it out." But Rashida had already moved on mentally. So why would he lie now? Why would Kirk go live and say something that would throw his entire world into a tornado of chaos? The answer, as fans would soon learn, was heartbreak and desperation. Behind the scenes, Kirk had been unraveling. According to inside sources, he'd seen Rashida recently laughing at brunch, posing for photos, getting her groove back, and it crushed him. Not because she looked happy, but because she looked happy without him. That's when he realized he was losing her for real this time. Not like the past, where she'd cry, forgive, and stay. No, this time, Rashida had emotionally left the building. And Kirk panicked. Going live, dropping the marriage bomb, was his last-ditch effort to pull her back into the storm he created. But if Kirk thought Rashida would come running back, he had another thing coming. Just 2 hours after his live, Rashida posted a cryptic message to her story. "Don't test me. I'm not the same woman I was 10 years ago." No name, no explanation, just cold, confident fire. Fans immediately flooded the comments, encouraging her to finally walk away and don't let him drag you back into that mess. But others weren't so sure. One user wrote, "Girl, y'all been through worse. This ain't nothing new." That was the problem. This toxic dance had played out so many times that people couldn't tell whether it was heartbreak or habit anymore. Meanwhile, cast members were reacting left and right. Young Jock went on his radio show and threw a little shade, laughing, "Man, Kirk out here talking like it's 2014 again. Rashida don't even claim him at the reunion." Carly Red was more direct, saying in an IG comment, "You ain't tellin' the whole story. Kirk, cut the act." And Mama D. Oh, she went off. She made her own live, sipping wine like it was tea, and said, "I done told y'all, what's done in the dark always come to light." That man's still holding on to that marriage like it's a winning lotto ticket. But behind all the gossip and finger-pointing, the real storm was brewing inside Rashida. This wasn't just another cheating rumor or petty fight, this was a betrayal of her peace. She had spent the past year quietly reclaiming her life, her voice, and her vision without Kirk. And now, just as she was finding balance, he yanked her back into the headlines like a puppet on strings. And the worst part, he did it publicly, with no warning, no courtesy, no respect. Friends close to her say she felt violated. Like someone had broken into her house and rearranged her furniture just to prove they still had a key. That night, Rashida didn't sleep. Not because she was hurt, but because she was done. At least, that's what she told her cousin Kiki, who rushed to her house after seeing the live. The two sat in silence at Rashida's kitchen counter, wine glasses untouched. "I can't believe he did that," Rashida finally whispered. Kiki replied, "You really didn't know, he never mailed the papers." Rashida shook her head. "I trusted him. Even after everything, I trusted he'd do the one thing I asked. And now? Now I gotta go back and fix it myself." But as the world dissected every second of Kirk's live, another layer of drama quietly emerged, one that would flip the narrative completely. Because just as Rashida was processing the betrayal, someone sent her a screenshot. An anonymous DM, no text, just an image of Kirk, from earlier that week, leaving a restaurant with a mystery woman. The two weren't holding hands, but the body language said enough. Kirk looked tense. The woman looked familiar. Rashida zoomed in. Her heart stopped. It was the same woman Kirk had denied, knowing back in 2021. When fans first accused him of stepping out again, could this be why he suddenly declared their marriage was still intact? Was he trying to block a future scandal by proclaiming Rashida as his wife? The air in the room turned ice cold. Rashida stared at the image, her jaw tight, eyes narrowed. "He's playing chess," she muttered. "But I'm about to flip the whole damn board." And with that, Rashida picked up her phone, not to call Kirk, but to call her lawyer. The call to her lawyer wasn't just about filing the paperwork Kirk failed to send, it was about making a statement. Rashida wasn't going to let this man drag her into another messy public narrative while he sneakily entertained other women in the shadows. No, this time, it was going to be different. She asked for an emergency meeting, first thing Monday morning. The plan was clear. Get the actual divorce finalized, this time with receipts. The world had watched Kirk disrespect her for years, and Rashida knew this wasn't about revenge anymore. This was about closure. She wasn't trying to prove she was over him. She was over him. Now she needed the paperwork to match. But while Rashida was preparing to close the chapter for good, Kirk was out there doing the complete opposite. Sources say he showed up at Frost Bistro that same night, pacing like a man on the edge, ranting to his cousin Rod, "She thinks she can just cut me off. After everything we built." Rod tried calming him down, but Kirk wasn't having it. "We got a brand together. Businesses. History. You think I'm gone, let her walk away and pretend I never existed." That's when he revealed something that made even Rod go silent. Kirk had already reached out to producers about turning his sudden marriage reveal into a reunion storyline for next season. That's right. The man wasn't just trying to reclaim Rashida's heart, he was trying to turn the heartbreak into content. Word got around fast. By morning, the blogs were lit up with headlines like "Kirk pitches reunion spinoff with Rashida without her consent." And is Kirk trying to save his brand by hijacking Rashida's peace? Fans were torn. Some still believed Kirk was just heartbroken and scrambling. Others saw it for what it was: manipulation at its most strategic. And as the pressure mounted, Rashida remained silent. No clapbacks, no lives, no tweets. Just silence. That silence, though, was not weakness, it was strategy. She knew Kirk thrived on chaos. He fed off attention. And the one thing he couldn't handle: being ignored. But then came the twist nobody saw coming. A leaked voice message, dropped online. It was audio of Kirk talking to someone, possibly a friend or another cast member. In the recording, he can be heard saying, "I ain't never stopped loving Rashida. That's my wife, man. I don't care if she hate me right now. I'm gonna fight for her, even if it means embarrassing myself." Fans were shaken. Was this manipulation or a genuine cry for help? Was Kirk actually trying to redeem himself, or just playing the long game? The message reached Rashida within minutes. She sat in her car, listening to it over and over again. Her fingers trembled, not because she missed him, but because for the first time, she saw clearly. The version of Kirk in that audio, that was the man who only loved her when she was walking away. That was the man who needed to perform pain, to feel relevant again. But Rashida wasn't flattered, she was furious. This wasn't love, this was control disguised as vulnerability. And she wasn't falling for it. That night, Rashida decided to do something that would silence every rumor. Every "is she going back" tweet, every "they'll never be done" comment. She booked a photo shoot, full glam, full boss mode. The next day, she posted the final photo with a caption that read, "You can't keep someone who's finally found themselves. Watch me now." The photo. Rashida, standing solo in front of press, in a blazing red suit. No ring, no smile, just power. The internet went wild. Fans reposted it with captions like "Rashida's redemption arc is cinematic" and "Sis is done." Even celebrities jumped into. Raji P. Henson commented, "Fire emojis." Tamar Braxton said, "Yes, queen." And Cardi B reposted it to her story saying, "She said what she said." But of course, Kirk couldn't stay quiet for long. Hours later, he posted a throwback photo of him and Rashida on their wedding day with the caption, "They don't make love like this no more. Still, my wife." The comments. Brutal. One follower wrote, "Respectfully, bro, let her go." Another said, "This ain't romantic, it's manipulative." The backlash was so intense, Kirk turned off comments within 20 minutes. But the damage was done. He thought the public would support his fight for love. Instead, they saw through the performance. Privately, friends close to Kirk say he was spiraling. His plan had backfired. Rashida was rising, glowing, rebuilding, and he was left holding on to a narrative that no longer existed. And then came the final nail. Rashida's lawyer confirmed the divorce proceedings were officially in motion. This time, no one could stop it. No staged reconciliation. No spin-offs, no tearful apologies on camera. Just finality. Kirk tried reaching out one last time. He sent her a long text, sources say it was over 800 words. He poured out everything: how he was scared of being alone, how he regretted not mailing the papers, how he thought they still had a chance. Rashida didn't reply. Not out of cruelty, but because she knew words were no longer enough. She had waited years for actions. And now, her only action was moving on. By the end of the week, the world had shifted. Rashida began teasing new projects, a possible podcast, and even a fashion collaboration. Meanwhile, Kirk was left in limp, husband on paper, part X in reality, and all alone in a world he thought he controlled. Fans finally saw what Rashida had always seen: a man who only fights for love when it's too late, and a woman who finally chose herself. And just like that, the second chapter of this emotional whirlwind wasn't just another scandal, it was a reckoning. But there were still more twists to come. Just when the dust seemed to be settling, and everyone believed Rashida was finally closing the Kirk chapter for good, yet another layer of drama cracked open, this time from someone nobody expected: Jasmine Washington. Yes, that Jasmine, the woman at the center of Kirk's most infamous cheating scandal. The one he initially denied fathering a child with, then reluctantly accepted after a DNA test made the truth impossible to dodge. For years, Jasmine had stayed relatively quiet, moving on with her life, co-parenting from a distance, and avoiding the toxic chaos Kirk always seemed to carry. But now she had something to say. And she was ready to speak on camera. In an exclusive sit-down with a trending YouTube T channel, Jasmine didn't hold back. With eyes calm but fierce and a tone that reeked of receipts, she dropped a line that would send the internet into overdrive. Kirk's not just holding on to Rashida. He's holding on to a whole fantasy. Because even when he was with me, he still swore up and down he and Rashida weren't really done. The host leaned in, shocked. Jasmine continued, he used to tell me she just needed space, that they were still spiritually connected. He even said they'd probably get remarried one day, like the divorce was just a phase. The revelation exploded across social media. Kirk wasn't just misleading Rashida, he was lying to everyone. Crafting a delusional storyline where no matter how far she walked away, she somehow belonged to him. Fans were done. The narrative flipped from messy ex, trying to win back love, to a man obsessed with control, using marriage as a weapon to keep Rashida from fully stepping into her freedom. And now, with Jasmine's receipts on top of everything else, it wasn't just emotional, it was chilling. Rashida watched the clip late at night, her phone screen dimmed, curled up in bed alone. No tears, just exhaustion. Kiki, still faithfully by her side, asked softly, "You good?" Rashida nodded slowly. "Yeah," she whispered. I really thought he'd changed. Not for me but for himself." That was the part that stung the most. Not the lies, not the embarrassment, but the realization that Kirk hadn't evolved, not even after everything, and now, the only way to protect her peace was to let him fall apart without her. But as Rashida moved toward healing, Kirk was unraveling in real time. In a shockingly bizarre move, he showed up at press, unannounced 2 days after Jasmine's interview aired. Not during closed hours. Not with a private call. He just walked in, acting like it was still 2016 and the world revolved around his drama. Cameras caught the entire thing. Cell phone footage from fans in the store quickly went viral. Kirk standing at the front desk, voice raised, saying, "We need to talk, this can't end like this." Rashida, appearing from the back, icy calm, simply said, "This already ended. You're just the last to accept it." No yelling, no chaos, just finality. Security escorted Kirk out moments later. And Rashida. She went back to work without flinching. The moment became iconic. Fans replayed it over and over, using it as a meme, a motivational clip, even audio for TikToks. "You're just the last to accept it" trended on Twitter for an entire day. It wasn't just a clapback, it was a cultural reset. Women across social media shared how that moment empowered them to walk away from emotionally manipulative relationships. Rashida hadn't just spoken for herself, she had spoken for everyone who had ever been stuck in a loop of false promises and recycled pain. But the Kirk circus wasn't quite over. Days later, he dropped a cryptic video from his car, clearly emotional, saying, "Y'all don't know what real love looks like anymore. When you love, need to talk, this can't end like this." Rashida, appearing from the back, icy calm, simply said, "This already ended. You're just the last to accept it." No yelling, no chaos, just finality. Security escorted Kirk out moments later, and Rashida. She went back to work without flinching. The moment became iconic. Fans replayed it over and over, using it as a meme, a motivational clip, even audio for TikTok. "You're just the last to accept it" trended on Twitter for an entire day. It wasn't just a clapback, it was a cultural reset. Women across social media shared how that moment empowered them to walk away from emotionally manipulative relationships. Rashida hadn't just spoken for herself, she had spoken for everyone who had ever been stuck in a loop of false promises and recycled pain. But the Kirk circus wasn't quite over. Days later, he dropped a cryptic video from his car, clearly emotional, saying, "Y'all don't know what real love looks like anymore. When you love somebody for 20 years, you don't just walk away. That ain't fake, that's real." His voice cracked. He appeared genuinely torn. But by now, the audience was numb. Comments were cold. Sympathy had dried up. Because love without accountability isn't love, it's possession. And people were finally seeing that Kirk wasn't mourning a marriage, he was mourning the control he lost when Rashida found herself again. Producers from Love and Hip Hop couldn't believe the viral power of the saga unfolding off camera. Rumors leaked that VH1 was scrambling to build next season's storyline around the fall of Frost Empire. But Rashida wasn't interested. She made a decision that sent shockwaves through the industry. She declined the contract for the next season. Instead, she announced a new docuseries on her own terms, titled Unpressed, Reclaiming Rashida. The concept, her raw, unscripted journey out of the shadow of a toxic love and into a chapter defined by strength, boundaries, and peace. The announcement post was powerful. "This time, I'm telling my story. Not for ratings, not for tears, but for freedom." That same day, Her son Kai posted a now viral tweet, "Proud of my mom, she deserves peace." Finally, the entire Frost family, once divided, scattered, wounded, was now rallying around Rashida, supporting her as she rewrote her own narrative. Meanwhile, Kirk watched silently from the sidelines, realizing the love he thought he could manipulate back into existence had evolved without him. By now, it was clear. This wasn't just another chapter of reality TV drama. This was the end of a legacy and the beginning of Rashida's rebirth. The woman once labeled as ride or die had stopped dying for a man who refused to grow, and now, she was choosing to live. But what none of them knew was that one final surprise still lingered, one secret so wild, so unexpected, it would shake the Frost name to its core. Just when everyone thought the emotional roller coaster had finally reached its last dip, when the tears had dried, the headlines were fading, and Rashida was moving forward in silence, and Grace boomed, the final bomb dropped. This time, it wasn't Kirk. It wasn't Jasmine. It wasn't even Rashida. It was someone completely out of left field. Someone from the shadows of the past. A name that hadn't been uttered in years. Tasha Reynolds. An old friend from Rasheeda's college days. Someone who had vanished from the spotlight before social media even mattered. And now, she was back with evidence that could completely rewrite the Frost narrative once more. Tasha, who now worked in real estate and lived mostly off the grid, slid into the public eye with a TikTok that hit over 3 million views in under 12 hours. Sitting calmly in her office, she said just one thing: "I have proof that Rashida and Kirk's marriage was never legally finalized, and I was there when the reason behind it went down." Boom! The internet lost its mind. Everyone wanted answers. Was she lying? Was this clout chasing? Or was this yet another chapter in a story that just refused to end? Within days, the full story emerged, and it was twisted. According to Tasha, during the early stages of Rashida and Kirk's separation, there was a secret mediation session off camera, off the record, meant to bring some closure and legal clarity. But that session never ended how the public was told. Tasha, who had attended as moral support for Rashida, claimed that Rashida backed out at the last second. She had the pen in her hand, Tasha recalled. She was about to sign, but then she looked at Kirk, and something in her froze. It was like she saw him not as a husband or an ex, but as the father of her children. And she said, "I need time." That moment changed everything. Legally, no divorce papers were filed. Kirk kept the secret to protect his own ego. Rashida never clarified it publicly to protect her own peace. And over time, both allowed the world to believe whatever it wanted. But now, with everything coming to light, it was clear. The lie wasn't just Kirk's. It was mutual silence, born from years of codependence, emotional trauma, and a tangled history too complicated to untangle in a day. Fans were divided. Some felt betrayed. Others sympathized. Why didn't she just say so? Many asked. But the real truth, as Rashida would later confess in her docuseries, was that she didn't know how. "Part of me hoped we'd make it back," she admitted in a raw, tear-filled scene. And the other part was ashamed of still feeling that way. It was a confession that cracked open hearts across the nation. Because while everyone saw Rashida as the strong one, the boss, the unbothered queen, she had been hurting, confused, and human all along. Meanwhile, Kirk was using the moment to his advantage. He started hinting in interviews that closure is coming, and posted yet another flashback photo, this one of their first anniversary, captioned, "A love story never really ends. It just evolves." Fans weren't buying it. They flooded the comments with "Let her go," "Kirk, this is embarrassing," and "Bro, read the room." But others weren't so quick to cancel him. Some believed he was genuinely trying to grow. That maybe this was the wake-up call he needed. But Rashida wasn't waiting around to see. As the world debated her every move, she made her boldest yet. She filed the divorce papers publicly. Through her attorney, she released a statement to major outlets confirming the filing and stating, "There is no confusion anymore. I'm choosing clarity, peace, and freedom for me and for my family." The statement ended with a single, powerful sentence: "This is not an ending, it's a beginning." The timing couldn't have been more dramatic. The same day the statement dropped, Kirk appeared on a panel for a local business expo, meant to discuss entrepreneurship and branding. But instead, all anyone wanted to ask about was Rashida. He tried to play it cool, but when one audience member asked, "How does it feel to lose the empire you built with her?" Kirk's composure cracked. His voice trembled. "I didn't lose her," he said. "She grew past me. That's not lost, that's evolution." And I wasn't ready for it. For once, it was an honest moment. But it was too little, too late. Rashida's docuseries aired its first episode the following week and was an instant smash. Millions tuned in, not for the drama but for the healing. The premiere included footage of her tearing down old photos, redecorating her home, reconnecting with friends, and laughing again genuinely, freely. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't pettiness. It was a woman finally rebuilding from the ashes of her former self. And fans were here for it. Unpressed became a movement. Hashtags like #UnpressedQueen, #RASHEEDA Rising, and #FinallyFree dominated every platform. Women posted their own stories, citing Rashida as their inspiration to walk away from pain they had normalized for years. Kirk, meanwhile, fell into the background. No more lives. No more cryptic posts. He had finally gone quiet. Sources close to him say he was spending more time with his children, focusing on therapy, and trying to rebuild without expecting Rashida to join him. For the first time, the story wasn't about him, it was about her. And as the final credits rolled on episode 3 of Unpressed, Rashida stood alone on a beach. Wind blowing through her hair, staring out at the water, her voice narrated the final line. Some people think strength is staying, but real strength is knowing when it's time to walk away. That was it, the chapter was closed. The drama was done, the legacy rewritten, but fans still had one question left hanging in the air like a ghost. Would Kirk ever really let go? Or was this the calm before yet another storm? Because in the world of love and hip-hop, no door ever truly closes without someone trying to break it down again. And just when everyone truly believed the saga had finally found its ending, when viewers had cried, clapped, healed, and felt the emotional closure alongside Rashida, new twist emerged. This time not fueled by Kirk, nor Rashida, nor anyone directly tied to the chaos. It came from their son, Kai Frost, the young man who had mostly stayed silent through the firestorm, choosing to watch from the sidelines, finally spoke. And what he revealed was something so unexpected, so layered, and so emotionally explosive. It tore open wounds nobody even realized still existed. Kai dropped a 10-minute video on his personal YouTube channel titled simply, "The Truth About My Parents' Marriage." He didn't scream, he didn't cry, he didn't take sides. He simply spoke, calm, raw, real. "Everybody got something to say about my mom and dad," he began. But nobody ever asked what it was like growing up in the middle of it all, watching them fall apart, heal, pretend, fall apart again. That wasn't a show for me. That was my life. The camera didn't cut away. It lingered on his eyes, tired, wounded, and sincere. Kai continued, explaining how, as a teenager, he witnessed conversations behind closed doors that would have broken the internet if ever aired. There were nights I'd hear my mom crying in the laundry room, thinking nobody could hear her. There were times I'd catch my dad staring at old photos, whispering, "I messed up everything." His voice cracked slightly. I stopped believing in love for a while. That's what their relationship did to me. But the most good part, when Kai admitted that he once begged his mom not to leave his dad, I was scared, he said, scared that we'd stop being a family. But now I get it. She wasn't leaving the family, she was saving herself. And honestly, she saved me too. Those words hit hard. Harder than any headline, any cheating scandal, any fight caught on camera. Because it wasn't just a relationship at stake. It was a son's understanding of love, of strength, of self-worth. The video went viral instantly. Fans flooded the comments with support. "Kai, thank you for your honesty. This just made everything feel real. So proud of you for breaking the cycle." Even Rashida commented, "I love you more than words, son. You are my peace." And Kirk, he stayed silent. For the first time, truly silent. No live, no post, no quote-unquote reflection. Just stillness. And in that stillness, the world finally understood. This wasn't just about broken vows. This was about healing generations. Rashida, empowered by her son's bravery, released one final episode of Unpressed. Not dramatic, not flashy, just her and Kai, sitting on a couch, watching old home videos together, laughing, smiling, healing. It was a portrait of a new beginning. Forged from the ashes of every heartbreak, every lie, every tear. She turned to Kai, held his hand, and said, "We didn't just survive it. We're building something better now." And that was the ending fans didn't know they needed. Not fireworks, not confrontation, just peace. So now, as we close the book on one of the most unpredictable love stories in love and hip-hop history. We're left with a mix of emotions: sadness, relief, empowerment, and hope. Hope that even in the most public heartbreaks, there can be growth. That behind the glam and gossip are real people, trying their best to love, learn, and let go. And that sometimes, the real story isn't about who left whom, but who finally chose themselves. But now, it's your turn. What do you think about all this? Do you believe Kirk ever truly loved Rashida, or was it always about control? Was Rashida too patient, or just incredibly strong? And what about Kai's confession? It changed how you see the entire Frost saga. Drop your thoughts in the comments below, we want to hear it all. And don't forget to like this video if you felt any of that emotional roller coaster, and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next. Because if there's one thing we know for sure, in the world of reality love, the truth always finds its way out. We'll see you in the next chapter. Until then, stay strong, stay wise, and keep the tea hot. So here we are, standing at the edge of what can only be described as one of the most explosive, heartbreaking, and ultimately liberating sagas in love and hip-hop history. What began as a seemingly simple confession, "We're still married," unfolded into a multi-layered storm of secrets, control, desperation, healing, and finally, clarity. Kirk Frost's public declaration wasn't just a plot twist, it was a mirror reflecting years of unresolved pain, emotional confusion, and patterns that kept pulling everyone back into the same spiral. But Rashida, she broke free. She didn't just walk away, she rose. From the ashes of a public marriage built on shaky trust and private turmoil, Rashida reclaimed her narrative. She turned whispers into documentaries, heartbreak into power, and silence into a movement. And while Kirk spiraled in the shadows of what he lost, Rashida didn't look back, not because she stopped caring, but because she finally started choosing herself. And now, it's your turn to weigh in. Was Kirk's confession a last-ditch attempt to win her back, or a manipulative move to control the narrative? Did Rashida wait too long to walk away, or was her timing a display of incredible inner strength? And Kai's voice, raw, honest, unfiltered, did it give you chills the way it gave the internet chills? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Don't hold back, we want the real tea. Make sure to hit that like button if you felt even one moment of heartbreak, triumph, or truth during this wild ride. And subscribe for more deep dives into the stories behind the headlines, the ones that make you gasp, think, and maybe even heal. Until next time, stay loud, stay bold, and always remember, in the world of reality drama, the most shocking twist is growth.